I love the Sheldon Rankins move. I think that's going to end up being one of the more underrated moves of the offseason, assuming he stays healthy. He's somebody that was just a special talent before he had that injury a couple of years ago, and he seems to be on his way back a little bit. I think Lawson staying healthy is a huge factor here, because if he can stay healthy and you add him to what we already know that front four can be, now you've got a unit that makes it a little bit easier on the back end, because I think the safeties will be fine. I'm not entirely sure what to expect from Davis this season. He was very much a mixed bag last year, and we saw a lot of warts, hoping that he takes a step forward this year. But Joyner is solid, even if he's not in his prime anymore. Marcus May, who you talked about before, is one of the better safeties in the league. So as far as the corners go, if Lawson and if the guys up front in the front four can put pressure on the quarterback consistently, it will obviously take a lot of the pressure off of the cornerbacks. And if you look at what happened in San Francisco, Richard Sherman all of a sudden was a Pro Bowler again when we saw Bosa and Dee Ford and Buckner and Armstead and all those guys just crushing quarterbacks and putting so much heat on them. It made Sherman's job a lot easier. I'm not expecting anybody in the Jets secondary to be anything like that, but I'm just saying, if you make quarterbacks have to get rid of the ball quickly, it covers up for a lot of weaknesses in that area in the secondary, as far as, man-to-man coverage or anything like that. So I think this will be a good unit. Obviously Saleh will oversee it, but it's going to be Ulbrich who's going to be making the calls, and it's going to be Ulbrich who's going to really put his stamp on this thing. And if you look at what he did in Atlanta, that's a positive. I think he did a great job there when he took over after Raheem Morris was made the interim coach when they fired Dan Quinn. So I think that those two guys, in a way that they haven't in quite a few years. And so I think this will be a fun defense to watch this year. And like I said, if he stays healthy, the player that you really need to watch is Quinnen Williams, because I think, everybody knows how positive I was on Quinnen Williams and how I thought he was going to be an elite player. Yeah. And I think he started to show you that last year, and this year is when I think that jump could come. And Carl Lawson obviously could be the edge rushing presence that the Jets haven't had. Really, man, it's been, I guess, John Abraham. Calvin Pace was good, but he was really more of an edge setter than a guy off the edge who could really cause havoc. Lawson has the potential to be that guy if he can stay on the field. And that's one thing that I'll say. There are a lot of people that will point to sack numbers. I'm not really worried about that. I think that gets overblown. You really want to look at pressure rates and see, what the overall impact of an edge rusher is that way. But I do think that the concern is real as far as injuries, because even going back to Auburn, the reason he went in the fourth round is because of the injuries, and he's missed a lot of games in Cincinnati. So that's a key factor here. But I think that this could be the most aggressive and most fun defense that we've seen the Jets have in a while.
Well, hey, look, I'm looking from your mouth to God's ears, because let me tell you something. The biggest problem with the New York Jets for the past 20 years is that their defense spends 65 to 70% of the time on the field. And their offense couldn't pull its head out of its ass long enough to take a deep breath. And that's why they were getting their doors blown off in the fourth quarter, because the offense took 2.5, sometimes 3 quarters to get itself going. And then all of a sudden, by the time you got going, you're in such a hole that it's difficult for you to dig yourself out of, because now you need your defense to get you a stop, and you can't because your defense is gassed. And the thing is that the New York Jets have always been predicated on defense, Scott. And I don't have a problem with that. But eventually, you have to have balance. And that's one of the things that we saw in 2008, 2009, 2010. Even during the Eric Mangini years, we saw balance. Okay? Where your defense, when you needed them to get a stop, they got to stop. It was whether or not your offense could cash in on that spot. That was the question. As opposed to now, you have a 1-point lead, and then you have to bite your nails, and you have to worry about, okay, who's going to beat over top? Okay, is C.J. Mosley going to get caught? Be able for the defense to get off the field to help the offense or Jets in 2021.